the gates of security, the destruction of wrong views. The domain surveyed by the Buddhas, that is the doctrine of Anatman. The meaning of Maya has been explained in brief. Srutam. Let us now speak about the word srutam. Question. What does the word srutam signify? Does it mean by means of the ear organ, or by means of the auditory consciousness, or by means of the mental consciousness? If it is the ear organ that hears, the objection will be made that, being without intellect, the ear organ cannot hear. If it is the auditory consciousness that hears, the objection will be made that, lasting but a moment, the auditory consciousness is incapable of concept, and cannot hear. If it is the mental consciousness that hears, the objection will be made that the mental consciousness, in turn, cannot hear. Why? The first five consciousnesses, visual, auditory, olfactory, gustatory and tactile consciousnesses, recognize the five gross objects, i.e., color, sound, odor, taste and tangible. It is only afterwards that the mental consciousness recognizes. The mental consciousness is unable to cognize the five gross objects actually present. It cognizes only those that are past or future. If the mental consciousness could cognize the five gross objects actually present, blind people and deaf people could cognize colors and sounds. Why? Because their mental consciousness is not destroyed. Answer. Neither the ear organ, nor the auditory consciousness, nor the mental consciousness, are able to hear sounds. The coming together of many causes and conditions is necessary to be able to hear sounds. It cannot be said that one single dharma hears sounds. Why? The ear organ, lacking intellect, cannot hear sounds. The C consciousnesses, both auditory consciousness as well as mental consciousness, being non-material, offering no resistance, and outside of space, are not able to hear sounds. Sound, itself, lacking intellect, and lacking the organ, cannot hear sounds. But if the ear organ is intact, when the sound reaches the auditory field and when the manas wants to hear, the coming together of the object i.e., sound and the manas determines the arising of an auditory consciousness. Following this auditory consciousness, there arises a mental consciousness that can analyze all types of causes and conditions, and succeeds in hearing sounds. This is why the objection cannot be made. Who hears sound? In the Buddha's doctrine, no dharma is agent, perceiver, or cognizer. Some stanzas say, if there is an action, there are also fruits. The non-existence of the agent, of the action and of the fruit is the absolute, and profound, law that the Buddha was able to discover. There is emptiness, but not annihilation, continuity, but not eternity, sin and merit, and not destruction. Such is the law which the Buddha preaches. The meaning of srutam has been explained in brief. Akasman. Let us now speak about Akasman. Question. In the Buddhist doctrine, the dharmas, number, time, etc., do not exist because they are not included in the list of aggregates, bases of consciousness, and elements set up by Buddhists. Then why is it said, a time? Answer. According to current usage, there is a time. It is not wrong to express oneself in that way. If a piece of carved wood represents the image of a deity, and by thinking of this deity, one pays homage to it, that is not wrong. In the same way, when we speak of a time, it is not wrong. Even though this time does not really exist, it is in conformity with usage that we speak of a time. Question. It is impossible that there is not a time. 1. The Buddha himself said, when a man appears in the world, many men obtain joy. Who is this man? It is the Buddha Bhagavat. Furthermore, the Buddha spoke this stanza. My conduct has no master. My resolve is one and peerless. By observing a single practice, I have become Buddha. By myself, I have penetrated the noble path. In the same way, the Buddha spoke about oneness in many places. Therefore it must exist. 2. Furthermore, it is by association with the Dharma oneness that a substance is said to be one. If the Dharma oneness did not truly exist, why does a single substance invoke the notion of oneness, unity, and not of duality or threeness? Why do two substances evoke the notion of duality and not of oneness or of threeness? Why do three substances evoke the notion of threeness and not of duality or of oneness? If numbers really did not exist, a single substance would be able to evoke the notion of two-ness, two substances would be able to evoke the notion of oneness, and similarly for 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. That is why we know with certainty that a substance one possesses the Dharma oneness and that, by association with this Dharma, this substance one engenders the notion of oneness. Answer. There is a fault both in the case that oneness is identical with substance and in the case that oneness is different from substance. Question. If oneness and substance are the same, what is the fault? Answer. -1. If a vase is synonymous with oneness, in the way that Yinti Li Indra is synonymous with Chaitya Sakra, then wherever there is oneness, there must be a vase, as everywhere where there is Indra, there must be Sakra. Henceforth all substances, cloth, etc., will be vase and oneness. Since the vase is oneness, wherever there is oneness, there must be vase, and not only vase, but also cloth, etc. Because all of them being single substance, they are not different. 2. Furthermore, oneness being a number dharma, the vase also must be a number. Since the nature of the vase involves 5 attributes, oneness also will involve 5 attributes. Since the vase is material and offers resistance, oneness also will be material and resistant. However, wherever there is oneness, there is no question of the vase. It is not necessary that the vase be oneness, since to speak of oneness is not to include the vase therein and to speak of the vase is not to include oneness therein. 3. Finally, if the vase and oneness were not different, then to speak of oneness, one would be talking about the vase, and to speak about the vase, one would be talking about oneness. This would be confusing. Question. If oneness and the vase were identical, those would be the faults. But if they are different, where is the fault? Answer. If oneness were different from the vase would be that which is not oneness i.e., it would be multiple, anicca. If the vase were different from oneness would be everything that is not the vase. If the vase, united with oneness, is called one, why is oneness, united with the vase, not called vase? This is why we cannot say that the vase is different from oneness.